To digitize the Blackboard sessions, I'm going to recommend that you use Camtasia to do a screen capture video of your web conference. Then you upload it to YouTube and then embed the video into Google. So you don't need to include closed captions for your web conference. That's not a requirement for this assignment. I'm also going to ask that you embed your VoiceThread into your Google electronic portfolio so that it's entirely visible. So that means you don't want to just do a link that people click on. Embed means that whole VoiceThread box is literally nested within your website so that you can see the entire box and it's not just a URL link. So that's what I mean by embed. Both should be embedded. So using Camtasia to record, let me do a quick demo. First of all, this Camtasia, when it was designed, it was originally designed to be a screen capture product. That's what it was originally meant to do. Now, subsequently, it's added all sorts of things, like now it's a video editor and you can add audio to PowerPoint. It does so much more. But when it first was invented or developed, it was meant to be a screen capture product, and it's incredibly powerful. This is what it does well. So you can find tons of tutorials. You can actually go to TechSmith, which is the parent company, and right on their website they have free video tutorials that are amazing. But because Camtasia is so widely used, you can go to YouTube, you can just type it in, you can find a trillion billion tutorials on this. So it's out there, but I will do a quick tutorial also. So using Camtasia to do this particular product is incredibly easy. I mean, like, it's ridiculously easy when I show you, but it's very time consuming because it captures in real time. So sometimes this surprises students, and I don't know why it surprises them, but it captures in real time. So first of all, you've got to do the little bit of setup, which might take you about 5 to 10 minutes. But then once you start the recording, if the web conference was 20 minutes, it's going to take 20 minutes to do the screen capture because it's real time. And then after it's done with the web conference part of it, then you need to upload it to YouTube. And a 20-minute video is going to encode, and that could take maybe even an hour to encode properly. So this whole process can be a little tedious, a little time consuming, but technically it's very easy to do. So why? If it's so time consuming, why don't we just leave our Blackboard session, and why do we do it? The reason, if you think, I'm going to pause here and let you think about it for a minute. So the reason is because the web conferencing recording was password protected. It's in our learning management system, and that's done intentionally so that we don't violate students' FERPA rights, and we can talk about classroom business, and instructors don't feel like, you know, their intellectual property is being shared. But in this case, we're going to have you record it so that it can go into your portfolio, so that you have proof of what you had done, and you can share it with anybody else. And then we as a program have evidence that you had created this in case we go through an audit of some sort that we have to prove competency. So that's why we do it. So Blackboard recordings are locked down. That's why we do it. So when you get started, the first thing you want to do is make sure the version of Camtasia that you have is upgraded. And Camtasia does a really good job usually of prompting you, hey, there's an upgrade, do you want to go ahead and do it? Now, whatever version you have, there may be a paid version. I'm not saying you have to do that. If whatever version of Camtasia you have should work fine, but going to the unpaid upgrade, just make sure it's the newest version of that. And Camtasia is a very reliable company, so they're one of the companies that when I upgrade to their version, I find it's usually very well vetted, it's very well tested. So I have never had trouble upgrading to any of their versions, so I think you should feel pretty safe doing that. So here's a demonstration. So to get started, first you're going to need to go find your web conferences. Remember, you did 3 of them, and in addition to 3, several of you guys even had a lot of practice sessions. So you need to find the exact session that you want to record first. And that might take you a little time. So if you remember how to find those recordings, number 1, you're going to go into the pilot shell, click on content. Number 2, in content, you're going to go down in the modules and click on web conferencing and web conferencing links. And then when that comes up in the upper left hand corner, this is the weird kind of hard thing to find. There's a little icon, it's the menu, and it's the 3 little lines that go across. You click on that, and number 3, once you do that, you click on recordings, and that brings up all of your recordings. And once you click on the specific recording that you want to record, that will launch in a full window. And what I'm going to recommend that you do is you resize that window so that it's a little smaller and that it's the size of the recording that you wish to record. And the reason you want to do that is because these files can get really large, and there's no reason to have it the entire size of your screen, nor do you want it to be so small that your audience can't see it. So, do one that's reasonably sized, you can still see the information on the screen, but it's not going to be so unwieldy and so big. So resize that web conference window. And then what you want to do is you want to go ahead and launch Camtasia. So number 1, you launch Camtasia, and the first thing Camtasia will do is a little dialog box comes up. You click on New Project, and then once your project starts, I would recommend saving it, and then 2, click on Record, and you get started. Now when you record, it's going to give you another little recording dialog box. So first you're going to select the area to record. So number 1, instead of doing the full screen, because remember I suggested you resize the web conference, I would say in number 1, select the custom recording size. So you click the little down arrow to the right of custom, and then what you would do, you get several options. Select the one that says select area to record, and then number 2, what happens is you get these bright green, but they're kind of hard to see, so look for their dotted green rectangle that comes up, and you manually select the area that you want to record. So I don't know if you can see it, but on the very outside down here in step number 2, you can see those fine little green dotted recordings. They're a little difficult to see, so you want to size it so that it only shows the slides of your web conference. I'm going to say please do not record the little pink tab at the bottom, or some people think it's purple. Do not display that because it displays students' names, and that displays the text chat, and it can really cause a little cognitive overload. So keep that closed, and you're only going to display the slides. And then you need to select the audio. Now this is the only part that's a little tricky, and this is really, really important. So everybody listening, this is the part that sometimes people don't get right. So please stop and pay attention to this next section. So to select the audio, you go to the record audio section. So in number 1, you click the little down arrow next to audio on, and it needs to have a green check, so that's turned on and that's all good. But what's different is in step number 2, because you're not going to be recording additional microphone, you're not going to be manually recording it. You want the system to record your audio that you already spoke during the web conference system. So what you do is you put the check next to record system audio. Make sure that you have a check next to it, and by checking that, this tells Camtasia, hey, I'm going to go into the system, the computer, and I'm going to capture this audio that was going on during the web conference, and that's what I'm going to use as my audio. So this is what's really important. So what happens is if you used Camtasia and you record your entire session, and remember I said it's very time consuming, and then you put it to YouTube and you go back and you do a quality check, which you always should be, and there's no audio, chances are you forgot to do this part of it. And believe me, there's always students that do it and they're not happy and they have to record it. So I always try to make a big deal about this step so that you don't have that happen to you. So make sure that you do this. And then what happens is you click on record, which is that big red button. It's kind of hard to miss. And then what happens is it counts down. Camtasia counts down. I think it goes those green numbers, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then what happens is kind of anticlimactic. You just wait. It just records. It's real time. So if the web conference was 20 minutes, this is 20 minutes. And so you just wait and it continues. So then once that happens, you should go back in. It launches it once it's done in the Camtasia editor. And sometimes in the very beginning of the recording, you've got some empty time that you're not speaking, or sometimes at the end, not always. Usually these screen capture recordings are pretty clean, but if there's some extra space, unneeded space at the beginning or the end, you can use the editor to trim those off, but that hopefully you don't have much of that. And then once it's done, you need to share it to YouTube. So you click in step number 1, you click on share and then you select YouTube. And then once that happens, you get the production wizard that comes up. And step number 2, you're going to add the information in. Go ahead and give it a title, a description, the tags, which is what's for searching. You want to put in EDT 8130, Wright State University, and maybe something like collaborative learning. And then here's the other thing that's super important. In step number 3, you need to change the property to make this public so that anybody can view. I always have about 30% of the students that forget to do this, and then when I as the instructor go to grade it and I click on it, it doesn't launch. Now what's the sad thing, and the reason why this gets mixed, is because when you go to do your quality check and you click on it, it's going to launch for you because you're logged in as you, and therefore it's going to work. And so sometimes I get emails from students saying, well, it worked for me when I did my quality check, and that's why, because you're on your system, you're logged in, you've got it going, but it's not going to work for me because it's not public or anybody else. So then you're not going to get the points for that, and that's not a good thing. So make sure that you change the privacy to public, and then step number 4, you click on finish. Now something you should know about publishing, and then it encodes it. And for a 20-minute video, that could take sometimes an hour, maybe longer if you have a slow system. So, do this before you go to lunch or take a little coffee break because it takes a while. Now, when you upload this to YouTube, frequently, when I say frequently, about 50% of the time, it goes through the entire encode process and you get an error message that says an error occurred and the video did not upload. There's, in this last update of Camtasia, there's some weird communication glitch between Camtasia and uploading to YouTube. And so if that happens, no big deal. It gives you the option to save my produced video. And so what you want to do is select that option, manually save the video on your computer. No big deal. It saves it on your computer, and then open up YouTube and manually upload that to YouTube. So that's not a problem. You just do that and you just keep on working. And then so you've got your video either manually and then it's uploaded to YouTube. You need to embed that digitized web conference into your Google Sites electronic portfolio. Again, super simple to do. You go to the YouTube video. Underneath the YouTube video, in step number 1, you click on share, and then that launches a dialog box. And step number 2 is, do you see where it's got highlighted the URL video? You just click on copy and you copy that URL. Now what's nice is because YouTube and Google are the same company, they work perfectly together. So you don't need to get the embed code because Google automatically embeds anything from YouTube into it, so it's a beautiful thing. They work perfectly together. And then what you're going to do is go back to your Google Sites electronic portfolio. You double click. Now be sure to do a title for web conference number 1, and then underneath of it do some text that gives some context, like I used Blackboard Collaborate Ultra to do this web conference. This was it was an asynchronous web conference where I was trying to share, work collaboratively. So you give them that little overview, and then you're going to embed the YouTube video. So you double click and you click on step number 1, embed, and then step number 2, you're going to get a little dialog that pops up, and then you paste in the URL. If you had to do the embed is the next tab over, and then it gives you a little preview, and then step number 3, you click on insert, and it does it.